Welcome to another episode of Beyond Physical, where we talk about the mental, emotional, social, and at times spiritual benefits of exercise. We believe that exercise is more than movement, and this podcast is our attempt at sharing that message with the world by sharing our own as well as our guests' experiences and knowledge. If you enjoy it, we ask that you please spread the message by leaving a rating and review, or even better, by sharing with a friend.
That looks viables. Speaking of viables, we're back. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond Physical. Welcome back. Matt just threw out his back after doing some isometrics. Yeah. But we got some more overrated, underrated for you at home listening, or on the road, or on the path, or wherever you may be. This one I have very, very little knowledge on, but I am hoping Matt has some. If you don't, that's fine. We'll move on swiftly. Talk to me. Overrated, underrated. Active neuromuscular warm-ups.
I think that's very underrated.
What does that
First
mean?
of all, neuromuscular would basically be the signals that your muscles are receiving from your nervous system. So from the muscles or from the main spine area to the brain. So all the messages coming from the brain to the muscles and the muscles to the brain, so that it can allow you to understand what's happening. So if a movement is comfortable and if you are able to do it, then going into a warm-up and kind of increasing that circulation and going into it comfortably under control will allow your body to be open and relaxed when going into it, as opposed to like not doing warm-up, going into something your body is kind of, I'm just giving an example now, but your body is flagging this as like an emergency or something is going wrong and we haven't been prepared for it. Then you get what I got earlier, which is like a seize up from in my back from doing something that I wasn't prepared to do, but I did almost instantly. So it's a bit of like a shock or a bit of like a protective thing that the body will do sometimes to obviously make sure that you're not going to hurt your body further. So yeah, just in base level, it's just kind of like messaging or communication from your muscles to your brain through your central nervous system so that you can kind of open up and relax and be mindful about what you're doing in your movement before you go into any of your primary lifts. And that's just the meaning taken into my perception of it.
So do you think
Yeah.
it's over or underrated?
Underrated highly. First of all, a lot of people don't do good warm-ups. I don't agree with it. I think that everyone should have a good warm-up routine. This goes with also if you are unaware with your warm-up routine or unaware of a good warm-up routine, reach out to one of the coaches here at Horizon or a professional that can assist you, so that you can warm up appropriately and then train for longer and be more happy when you're training so that you're not dealing with any niggles or stiffness. Um, and then additionally, I think it's very underrated because often we just want to get to the fun things. And I don't know where it's been kind of started that warm ups are not fun or doing mobility or doing any activations are not fun because you're literally doing the same movement that you would do just without any intense weights or just under a different tempo. So you're just practicing how it feels to go. Like, for example, if you did a compound squat or compound lift like a squat and you do air squats before, or you go into a deep squat and you hold it, or you do hip 90s to kind of open up the hips and engage everything like your abductors or your adductors or your glutes, then when you go into your squat, you'll feel so much more comfortable, so much more confident for the lift, and you'll be able to do that comfortably while reducing the risk of injury after doing the neuromuscular active warm-ups. So yeah, highly underrated, and I recommend everyone to warm up properly before your next lift.
Maybe we can put out a nice general
I love that.
neuromuscular warm-up video for
Yeah,
everyone. We can
even
put
a
it on our
guide.
socials.
If there's demand, a guide.
Yeah.
But if there's demand, so if you want it, demand it, we can bring it. Boom.
Yeah, state your demands and we will potentially meet your demands. I also love how
What do you think of it?
well, I mean,
It's
I'm
essentially
notorious
just like
for
activation before.
I'm notorious for my lack of warming up in workouts, but it's also, that being said, my warm-ups, and when I say notorious, I mean among Gideon more than anyone else, but I I do warm up. It's just in a very like sort of one-dimensional way,
Okay.
because my workouts are typically one main lift, maybe with one or two supplementary exercises thereafter.
Yeah.
So my warm up is typically maybe some band pull ups and bird dogs, but then I'll spend some time doing the main lift at a much lower weight,
Yeah.
building up into it.
Yes.
So if I'm doing a bench press, for example, I'll bench press with the bar up until my working weight and then start training. So I think that from the times that I have done more comprehensive warm-ups, I've had much better workouts.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, I can definitely say that it's underrated. And it's definitely something that I overlook. But to be honest, I also think it's just out of not kind of allocating sufficient time to my weight sessions. Where,
Oh, like having limited time and then.
well, my
not being
time's not
able-
limited. It's more that I haven't put aside enough time.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like
Yeah.
because I'll have like, let's say 45 minutes to train. I want to train for 45 minutes. You know, it's like
Yeah.
which is like then I spend the first 10 to 12 minutes warming up. Okay, now I've actually only got what, I don't know, 30 something minutes. And I'm like, okay, that's why I also like keep my warm ups very simple. And like, but the other day, like for instance, I knew was like a particularly bad day in terms of warming up. Like I did none of my bird dogs or my band pull aparts or my like
went
TRX
straight
rows.
into it.
I just went into I just went from like a pyramid set, like with the bar, and then like built it up. And I was like warm, but I was also like, I would have gotten more out of the workout if I'd warmed up more thoroughly. So this is actually an interesting question to bridge it into another thing. And
Okay.
Gideon's just joined us,
I just
Okay.
arrived.
Hope you're ready for this, Gideon.
which I think is quite a good one. So,
Buckle your seat.
and this I think is applicable to a lot of people. You are prioritizing your work, so exercise often comes second, but you still make some time for exercise, but it's only like 45 minutes. And you've got like a hard stop on 45 minutes. You have an appointment that's a priority. So you will stop when that 45 minutes is gone. Would you, in order to get the most out of that 45-minute workout, how much time would you allocate to the warm-up? Like what amount of time should we be giving to the warm-up in order to maximize our 45-minute workout?
You can do a very comprehensive 6 to 7 minute warm up in there to make sure like you full on ready to like smash that 40 to smash that 40 minutes or so workout.
Yeah.
7
Now,
minutes.
let's say now you've got 38 minutes now, obviously, because of your warm-up.
what is the workout of what is
Yeah.
the workout of choice?
It's either going to be something squat related
Okay, squat
or a bench press. I'm asking for myself.
As long as you have your you get your heart rate elevated by doing like 2 minutes on a row or a skio, just get the heart rate elevated, and then cover your bases by doing like incorporating as many moving joints as possible in your mobility warm up. So like a world's greatest stretch or an inchworm, and then make sure to also focus on the key aspects that is needed for a squat, like your ankles and your hips. So take like one warm up for each of those joints. So do like 2 warm-ups that incorporate multiple joints, and then take 2 warm-ups that involve specific joints, and then you can do your pyramid set.
And
That's how
why?
that break up or warmed up.
And I can definitely support your saying that getting your heart rate up is great for maximizing the time you have to train in your warm-up. But why, like theoretically speaking, why is that helpful?
So with just in terms of increasing blood flow as well, with an elevated heart rate, the increased blood flow is what you need, especially to the extremities that are required for the workouts. You don't really want to go in absolutely cold.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of elevating your heart rate, promoting blood flow, and especially helps you to ease into the warm up, and then after the warm up into the working set. That's like kind of the linear flow of it.
So how much and then how much time would you allocate to elevating your heart rate? So let's say we've got 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
How much time would you give to the elevating of your heart rate, and how much time would you give to like dynamic mobility stuff?
2 to 3 minutes on the elevating the heart rate, and then 3 minutes to 4 minutes on the mobility drills. Mobility drills you can pick you can do maybe 2. So like on like a runner's lunge or world's greatest stretch, you can do like 30 seconds one side, 30 seconds the other side, and then into like an inchworm for 1 minute. That's your 2 minutes, and then another minute for like an ankle specific drill, and then 1 more minute for a hip specific drill, and then straight into your pyramid set.
I think that's very helpful. I think generally speaking, warm ups are probably the most underrated and overlooked element of people's exercise protocols, especially with people who don't spend a lot of time talking about exercise and like almost meditating on how their exercise feels.
Yeah.
Because really, like some of my early training partner friends still now. I'll be horrified. I'll be like, why have you got 60 kilos on the bar? Like, we haven't even warmed up. They're like, oh, no, this is my warm up weight. I'm like, you're literally going to tear your pec off the bone. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
You must also think of warm-ups. As like a mini injury prevention initiative. It's like a way to promote not becoming injured by doing mobilization, flexibility, range of motion testing. It's like a way of like checking in on yourself as well.
Yeah.
Like you're never gonna know by going into like a first working set on a squat if you haven't like done a mobility drill. You're not gonna know, oh, my hips are actually feeling quite tight today. Maybe I should focus on them before going into a 150 kg squat. You're only gonna know when it goes.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
That's
And,
why.
it's also a good
to-
way. As
To
a
add to that, I think that like when you are kind of putting yourself through a warm up, you'll either feel, and a lot of times I tell people is like you'll either feel in the warm up when you are not feeling good in certain muscle groups, and that should be indicated to be like, what is going on here? Why do I feel like this? Is there potential like strain on this muscle group? Should I really be doing this? Maybe I should consult with someone or ask my trainer, right? And I've had a lot of instances where people have gone ahead and trained, and then I talk afterwards. But then that conversation, that situation that we're in means 2 weeks or a week without training in that muscle group.
That sets you back.
Exactly.
highly under.
Whereas like that one conversation literally gives your body that extra bit of rest, which is like training smartly. And then we can go back into that movement. And then the person realizes, oh, I played fives yesterday and I just went too intense on this one tackle. And you maybe pulled your quad or overextended your hamstring, you know? And I also think to add to that is when you are warming up and going into a set and doing a set without any weight on it, going into that deep range and going through your full range of motion that you normally do, it's always better. And I hope this doesn't happen to anyone, but it's always better to have something happen in that case than to have it happen with like a lot of weight on, because something worse could come out of that. Because if your like muscles pull or something tears and you have like 100 kgs on your back, like how you can guarantee getting out of that situation safely is different with than with an empty bar. You know what I mean? So-
I think another big element to pull into a warm up. So I'll touch on two things. Number one being, I find that when I do incorporate stuff that promotes blood flow to my extremities, like doing a ski erg for like 3 minutes or something before, or like a walk, like backwards walk or something, and then doing some other movements, as opposed to just going multiple reps on like much lighter weight and then building into my working weight, I find that I can recruit more of, let's say, for instance, because like I fully believe that bench press is a full body movement. So I feel like I can get like my feet, my legs, my glutes, like everything way more kind of engaged when I've got a full warm up, but when I've done a full warm up before that. And to add on to that, why I think that, and this is like, the bare minimum, even less than the bare minimum of doing what I usually do, or 50% of the time do, which is just jump into the exercise and go light, build up to my working set, is I think the importance of doing that is the mental ritual, at least if you want to maximize, like if you're having the kind of back and forth with yourself of, oh, I've only got so much time, let me jump straight into like my working sets. I think you're losing out on a lot of mental benefits around you kind of zoning in. Like I see like each progressive warm-up set as like okay, I'm a slightly bit more focused, I'm a little bit more focused, I'm a little bit more focused, okay, I'm at my working set, working sets
in.
now I'm fucking locked in. And now I'm gonna like, like it's serious now.
I think
then
it's-
you get
yeah.
so much more out of
True.
the
And
sets.
and I think as a trainer as well, when we're working out in the space and people asking us questions, I think they can see when you're going through stage of your warm up, when you are able to talk to be spoken to, and then at some point where it's just like no communication, I'm locked in here. You know what I mean? So it's also good in that sense. Like if you want people to clearly see that you are in a do not disturb mode, go through a nice warm up, and then at the end of it, go straight into your working set.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. As much as I do like to cut corners with my warm ups,
Like
I'd say
disconnects
it's
you from the outside world.
it's highly
know?
underrated.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Neuromuscular wise, like I said, I mean, I don't know,
Neuro Gideon wise.
Neuro Gideon wise.
I've got to go, but it was great to jumping in on
Thanks
this
for
one.
dropping in. That was
Awesome.
great value.
Cheers,
Bro.
Gideon. Have
Thanks,
a good
guys.
one. Thank you so much.
He actually did say quite a few valuable things. But next we've got caffeine as pre-workout. I know Gideon is completely
Gideon
hooked
wanted
on
to say something
Monster.
about this now.
Gideon's been hooked on Monster
Yo,
for the
he's
last
coming back. He's
3
coming
years.
back.
Caffeine as a what as a pre-workout.
It's a pre-workout.
Overrated or underrated?
Yes. Oh, I don't know.
I'm
But
asking.
You tell me,
I'm
bro.
asking you.
I think
Just first, overrated or underrated?
I think underrated.
I think
But I'm a mental guy, so I think macronutrient wise probably overrated because there's like nothing.
I think
Or as a
overrated.
pre-workout.
Yeah, I say underrated.
I think overrated because I don't often use like anything as a pre-workout. I try and go into my workouts without having caffeine just before.
Just a good night's rest and good food. I'm the same, but if
Yeah.
you incorporate an espresso shot or a Monies, shotgun a Monies, brew, straight to the dome.
I'll let you guys battle it out.
I'm flying.
This was my. I came up with this one, so I hope
What do you
everyone
think?
enjoys. I think it's underrated.
Yeah, so do
I
I.
think it's underrated. In terms of, obviously, we don't want to rely on a stimulant to help us with our training, right? But it can be a really, really good tool if you just need that little bit of an edge. Maybe you didn't have, an optimal sleep. Maybe you didn't, eat so optimally a couple hours before. And if you just need, and you have to get through that workout, having, as Seb said, your espresso shot or your espresso shot before your workout or a cappuccino, that can give you that edge to actually make it through that workout can be super valuable than instead missing it because, I feel a little bit sluggish and I'm feeling a little bit, I don't think I'm going to do it. Have that coffee and see how much better you feel after 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
I swear, just from the mental alertness side, it
Totally.
will switch you right back in. And in my opinion, it's way better to have that as a tool than to miss your workout.
Sure.
That's why I
Yeah.
think it's underrated.
No, I agree with that. And I think that
Yeah.
there's a time and place for everything. But coming from the point where we were talking about the menstrual cycle and the phases in the previous topic, I think
I think that was in another episode.
previous episode. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we can use besides caffeine to get us boosted and to get us moving and to change the whether we're feeling sluggish because of not enough rest. But over a certain amount of time, is it really going to be recommended that you do that more often than not? No.
No.
So is that also listening to your body? You know what I mean? So that's also where I come from, and I've been at the point where I've used pre-workout before. It's great. It works. Having caffeine before your workout is amazing. But focusing on what you can control a lot of the times, getting good rest, getting good nutrition, and then going into that workout without utilizing a stimulant, so powerful.
There's-
If
yeah.
you can, it's so powerful. So I would say overrated in the thought process of it'll fix everything because it won't. I've had caffeine sometimes when I've had a shit night's rest, felt even worse, and fall asleep while I'm warming up. On the mat, I literally did. So I think that in its time and place, it can be underrated and overrated a lot. So it's just about where you're navigating and what's the context.
Yeah, I think there's no better pre-workout than a full good night's rest and good food.
Sleep in a capsule, bro.
Bro,
Imagine sleep
If
in a
that,
capsule.
if that was a thing, you could just pop a pill and you'd be REM sleep 100,
vitalized.
everything 100. It would be next level. But no, I think getting good rest and having your macronutrient profile all kind of ticked off and micronutrients and stress under control and relationships in order and fulfillment in your life and your career, put that in a pill, baby.
Yo,
I'll buy that.
Yeah.
I'll buy that tomorrow. I'll buy that.
think-
I'll buy that
I
yesterday.
think there will
Actually,
be a limited drop once a year.
There will.
For one poll that sorts you out for the whole year.
but what I'm basically saying is lifestyle. Your lifestyle, kind of having your all those kind of boring quote unquote lifestyle related things in order is going to give you a lot greater ROI on your kind of pre-workout than having caffeine. Although I think all of that stuff plus caffeine and you've got something super potent. It's not something I use often. I used to be big into my pre-workout in high school. I couldn't work out without it. I would be like, where's my pre-workout if I didn't have a
Flat or
session?
something. Yeah.
But now it's definitely a thing that I utilize sparingly, and when I do, I'm very grateful for it because it's a game changer. Like Gideon said, it can be the difference between missing or not missing a workout, and I do tend to lean more towards the just push through and get it done than
Yeah.
like dialing it back. Like that is more my
Yeah.
philosophy with exercise.
Yeah.
As much as I know that listening to your body is important, I do like to just kind of I like to try and at least get one workout done a day, and I know I'll feel better for it afterwards.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, yeah, like something very laid back and chilled. But if I'm like, you know, really against the ropes and I'm tired, I'm still gonna try and do what I can to get the workout done because not because I think it's going to benefit me physically, but because most of the time I get such a great mental boost from that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good tool to have. Like if you're flat, if it's 11:30 a.m. because I don't take caffeine after 12
Yeah.
usually, and I have that black Americano or whatever, and I'm like, let's
Swing.
go.
Yeah.
I get it done, and I'm like, shit, I'm tired. Maybe that wasn't my best workout, but I got it done, and I feel good.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you. You don't want a dependence. You don't want a dependency at all.
No.
And you also there are other interventions that will help your training intensity better.
Yeah, and it will be
yeah,
more sustainable. But I
more
think
sustainable.
to add into like our situation, I'm answering on behalf of like what I'd recommend to someone else.
Yes.
Like as a trainer, I think that there's a lot of things that we do or that we have to do so that we can know the answer to recommend for people. So in the case of like me going through a workout or choosing to either miss the workout or go through it and having that caffeine, I wouldn't be against it. But there's such a gift in that because when someone comes here and they say like, oh my word, I don't want to miss a workout, but for example, they've only been training for a certain amount of time and haven't been training for a long period of time, you'd probably recommend them to actually focus on what they can control.
Sure.
Whereas like, for example, you, me, Gideon, we've been training for a long period of time, so we know like we kind of like understand our bodies and we know when we can push that and we know when we can't, from self-awareness point of view, you know what I mean? And I think all personal trainers or all good personal trainers are kind of like trailblazers in that way because we have to find out what would it be like if I was not well rested and I took caffeine and I pushed through that workout versus not. And being able to like constantly on a day-to-day make those kind of decisions and find what comes from it allows us to have a lot of knowledge to share to the next person.
Yes.
So yeah.
So I mean, I think it's actually a tough one.
Yeah.
Underrated versus overrated.
Underrated.
I think you know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say adequately rated. Adequately rated is what I'm gonna say because
Oh my gosh.
I do think that it's very useful, but people use it as a crutch.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I mean, it's good, but it can be a crutch, and you don't want the crutch, but
Just
you
make
also
sure
want the
that
goodness.
when you're using it, you at least have a bit of a neutral base.
Yeah.
And
Don't be going in
takes
there
me
on 2
back
hours
to-
sleep.
It takes me back to thinking about like, when you look at someone that does something really well, the actual thing that they do, the action is not that different from what you would do, but the base at which they're starting at the base at which they're operating at with an external thing makes a difference. So if you get a good night's rest, good nutrition, good training history, and you're very, very like disciplined, and you have a coffee and you go into your workout, you're gonna use that way differently to someone who doesn't have good rest, good nutrition, or good training history.
It's the same
You know
thing
what I
as
mean?
like a creatine or and that's what I typically say. Like I've got like I've got in many ways, a very old school approach where I'm like, people will say, should I take creatine? I'm like, well, it's probably not going to hurt you, but before you do that, I would look at your sleep, look at your stress, look at your relationships,
important.
look at your food,
You
look
don't
at
know
all
how
of
this-
that.
You don't know how it's gonna react when you start doing these things normally. So that's why it's always good to do it and then take it. So you don't know how far you could go just doing the base level things that won't cost you because you're buying
Yes.
an external thing.
100%.
You be resourceful, utilize what you have, and then from there, if you still haven't reached the goal or the objective that you want, then look externally.
But it's boring to do the things within your control sometimes.
Yeah, true.
I'm not speaking from my own
Yeah.
bath. I love that shit. It feels
Yeah.
like a lot.
No, but that's obviously what we hear a lot of the times.
Remember that episode we spoke about, the one where we spoke about people will want to get into like running or something or health or like make their lifestyle healthier. So they will buy running shoes
Yes.
or they will buy a health supplement and be like, okay, cool. I've taken a step. You know, they get that dopamine hit because they've paid money for this thing and it feels like they've invested in what you've not invested in anything yet. You need to use the thing.
Yes.
You know, you need to do this stuff to actually make it worth anything.
Yeah,
But
true.
and a lot of time you buy those things that gather dust in the corner of the kitchen or
True.
in your cupboard. But I think it's a very human, normal thing.
Yeah.
And where the most benefit usually lies is like right here within your circle of control, which is again, as we all harp on about, you know, your movement, your sleep, your stress management, all of that.
Yeah.
But
And it comes down to intuition again.
But intuition also takes past experience, which
yes.
we maybe sometimes take for granted as coaches, where it's
Yeah.
like my intuition is X, Y, and Z, but it's only that because I've had this experience, whereas
Yes.
someone previously maybe didn't because they haven't had so much exposure to our world of training. And to tie us back into the intuitive bit, which I don't know if it was from this, let me check if it was from this episode. No, it was from another episode. We mentioned ChatGPT being similar to what intuition is. So, the final overrated, underrated for this episode is ChatGPT for doing your workout programs. Overrated or underrated?
I think it's overrated. I'm trying to think about this now because utilizing ChatGPT like in a way that you can like in a way that you have training history and you are looking to expand on that or kind of like put it into words where you don't feel like you can be super useful. So me as a coach, putting all my knowledge and like kind of creating a program utilizing it, it's super underrated as a tool for that.
But I'm asking more like you are general population human, you're not a coach.
Overrated.
You don't want to pay for a coach.
Overrated.
So you now go to ChatGPT, you say, ChatGPT,
Capital O.
capital
Actually,
V, capital
everything
E,
caps. Everything
all
caps. Because the thing
underline,
is that,
bold.
I mean, I've tried it. I've put in like programs for different things, and there's so many missing links that you would get from an interactive session, whether it's online or in person with a trainer. Because with someone that has experience and someone that deals with different people from different backgrounds with different profiles, there's just so much value there that ChatGPT cannot offer, like data that has not been collected yet from like your highly experienced trainer in a private gym that isn't like marketing himself or putting himself out there, putting his workouts out there. There's so much value in that, and that's also from my experience of getting mentored by coaches or buyers in that kind of spaces. So like I remember when I was studying and like getting doing shadowing with some buyers or some trainers in like these private or small studios, and you'd be like, why aren't you marketing yourself? Or why aren't you putting yourself out there? But they just don't feel the need for it because they know their value in their work and they know that what they're doing is working and that's getting them more clients, like obviously from word of mouth. But I just think that there's so much that you can get from an in-person interaction, and you're also going to get a lot of like you're going to get a lot of things put into a program but out of context, so no explanation for it and not adequate enough, not an adequate explanation for that programming. And I think that's highly, it's not safe for someone to just kind of pick up something and then do it when they're
Sure.
not aware of where they kind of competency lies in certain movements. Whereas if you come and train or come and do a consultation session with one of us here at the Horizon Gym 126 Main Road Sea Point, then you're gonna get an assessment. You're gonna see what your strong points are, what your weaknesses are, and then we will provide you with advice on how you can advance, and how you can kind of like how we can program something to help you move towards your goals. So yeah.
I remember when I first started playing around with ChatGPT as a coaching tool, what it kind of gave me were, I mean, to be honest, I was just testing to see if I was going to get replaced. I was like, write up this for this kind of
Yeah.
person with this number of experience. And what it gave me was pretty low level, generic, really like straightforward, like right off the internet stuff. So I was like, okay, fine. My job is safe.
Yeah.
But I haven't tried it out recently because I used to use ChatGPT very much on and off, a lot to do with like checking like copywriting and checking and like legal documents and like stuff like that. And I've started using it more and more and more and more. And now I use it quite often, so much so that I've actually like gotten the plus version.
Ayo.
And I'd love to, but it's not even that expensive. It's like 329 Rand a month, and I'll cancel it soon anyway.
Yo.
But do you know how I think about it though? I think about if I had to get like the actual consulting services for that, what would I pay? It would be a lot more than that. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, that being said, I'd love to try it out again now with my having practiced like prompting better, because
Yes.
ChatGPT is only as good as the person prompting it.
Exactly.
If you don't have the right prompts, you're gonna get shit outputs. You're
That's
not
why I
actually
was coming from
you're
that
not-
coaching perspective.
you're
Like,
not-
if you know
yeah.
what you're looking for, you'll get the answers that you're looking for. Which a lot of times, like, sometimes I utilize it and I do that. But then often I'll find myself, like, putting a prompt in and then, like, thinking in my head, like, this is probably what's going to come out. And then it's exactly what comes out. So then I'm like, okay, cool. Like, it's not giving me anything different than what I would have gotten if I thought of it myself. So it's good to have that your reassurance, you know, to be like, okay, I'm kind of like tuned in into what is going on, like when I'm searching up certain terms or certain trends or certain things about exercise. So yeah, I personally, in my experience with using it as a coaching tool, I haven't gotten anything better than what I get when I'm actually in the gym or exploring or like connecting with different people or observing how certain people do movements. That's where I
Yeah.
learn the most.
I think as a coaching tool for like scaling yourself better and being able to work more and have
Yeah.
more output, it's like, I think it's adequately rated. I think a lot of, I don't know if most coaches are aware, but I'm gonna just assume that they are, how amazing it is in terms of like increasing your output.
Yes.
Because you can actually get way more done
True,
with
true.
it. So I think in that regard, it's either adequately or underrated. But in terms of actual training, exercise and training content, like if I am a person going online to like find workout routines and I'm going to ChatGPT, I think it's quite overrated.
Yeah.
So it depends in which context, but I think super cool tool for sure. But I would definitely, if I were you, the listener, and my kind of intention was to get a workout guide, I'd rather ask a friend who knows a lot about training,
Yeah.
or is a coach, or pay a coach than go to ChatGPT, because there's a lot of, and even the kind of model itself says we make mistakes. Like
Yes.
check our work
Yeah.
effectively.
I
So
wouldn't run home to it.
no,
Yeah.
take it with a pinch of salt, but it is super cool.
Himalayan salt.
Himalayan pink salt, grind that up, baby.
Actually, Himalayan salt stone.
What about Oryx? What about Oryx salt? Oryx desert salt. That's some good salt.
That's good.
That's what you get in Revive.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Oryx
What? I
desert
didn't
salt.
know.
It's like their official salt provider. And I'm pretty
that's
sure it's
amazing.
from Namibia. Isn't it? It is from Namibia.
That's dope.
It's like high level, like high grade shit.
Yeah. And we have Revive here, which is amazing as well.
Yeah, shout out us.
Dope.
Catch you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. This has been
Cheers,
Beyond
everyone.
Physical. Overrated, underrated. I think you're all overrated. No, I don't. I think you're underrated. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the show, guys. We love answering specific questions. So if there's anything you want to know, leave a comment or reach out to us directly at HorizonZA on Instagram, or email us at movement@horizongym.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Seb Prentice, and this is Beyond Physical.